My name is Nahre. I'm a pianist-composer, and in this video, I'm going to take 10 famous pieces of music and match them with 10 different emotions based on how the music makes me feel. Each emotion will increase in complexity from 1 to 10, with the last one being almost impossible to describe. First composer is Scott Joplin, and the piece is The Entertainer. We're gonna start off with one of the simplest emotions that we all feel, joy. If you just hear the left hand alone, it's already very jolly. Also, this is what we call a major scale, and this is commonly associated with happier sounding music compared to something that is a bit sadder. The next composer is Antonio Vivaldi. The piece is Summer from his Four Seasons, specifically the third movement. And this represents to me anger. In contrast to the Joplin, this is in a minor key, and you really hear the distress in the music, especially with all of the repeated notes. These downward scales are also climbing up. And of course, the direction changes and these scales go upwards, and all of this build into this commotion that really gives me the feeling of unrest. The next composer is Frédéric Chopin, and the piece is Nocturne in C sharp minor. And this one represents sadness. There's a sense of longing in this piece because the melody really lingers on. These intervals going high up, there's a lot of pain in there. It almost pulls on your chest. By just changing one note from the E to the E sharp, we have a brighter sound. What's incredible is that music can change from one emotion to the next, just with one small detail. The next composer is Richard Strauss, and the piece is Thus Spoke Zarathustra. This represents triumph. This music is a fanfare, and with the brass, it conveys a feeling of anticipation, grandiosity, and also with the timpani, there's something very tribal about it. It takes a while for us to even know if we're going to a major key or a minor key, because this still is unclear. And then we have both, a major chord and a minor chord together. And so this creates a bit of suspense and a lot of excitement. And after all of that, it's so incredibly satisfying to get to the final resolution here. Before we move on to the next composer, I want to mention that I'm at the Elbphilharmonie, one of the world's most reputable concert halls, and I am lucky to be their first creator in residence. So throughout the season, I'll be presenting a lot of videos both on this channel and their channel, covering a wide variety of topics. To start off, I wanted to talk about emotions because this is really the most important thing that we experience when we listen to music, whether it's live at a concert hall or at home. You really don't need anything else. You don't need to know the context of the music. It doesn't matter what genre you're listening to. Emotions is the main thing that leads the experience.
But the great thing about emotion is it's a great language that speaks differently to everybody in the room. The composer might have something on his mind why he wrote this music in a certain way, and it will be completely different for you, and still it will be a huge and rich experience.
The next composer is Franz Schubert, and the piece is Erlkönig, or Earl King. This represents terror. Just with the octaves alone, you feel an incredible amount of tension and anxiety. In this case, we have the text to refer to, and it's based on a poem by Goethe, which is about a boy and his father riding on a horse while the boy is being overtaken by a supernatural being and he eventually dies. This is very scary, spooky, and very disturbing. The next composer is Aaron Copland, and the piece is Appalachian Spring. This represents hope. This is one of my favorite pieces, and it really made sense to me when I was on a road trip across the country, across the United States, and I was listening to this music in the car while seeing the landscape of Middle America. What's neat about this piece is that it's constantly changing between bustling music that's really energetic, fast, and really exciting, and then it switches gears and all of a sudden you have these long sustained notes and you're just suspended. And this is when I think the emotions of feeling hopeful and sort of in awe gets amplified. The next composer is Johann Sebastian Bach, and the piece is Chaconne from his Violin Partita No. 2. This represents agony. Right from the beginning, this piece starts off with a grand gesture that is so poised, so bold, yet at the same time reserved, and that's where I feel a sense of pain underneath everything and just the courage to maintain posture with agony underneath, with desperation and also acceptance. The next composer is Samuel Barber, and the piece is Adagio for strings. And this represents devastation. A lot of these phrases, they start with a tied note. So this to me adds this sort of swelling inside where you're not really able to fully express something or fully have a sense of resolution or a sense of grounding. I find that this emotion is very complex. It's not just dark and sad, but it is very warm and enveloping, yet there's a sense of grieving in there, almost a hopelessness. And when the piece reaches a climax, it becomes extremely violent. And I find that to be very powerful. The next composer is Erik Satie, and the piece is Nosien No. 1. This represents numbness. This music is very surreal in the sense that you're feeling a mixture of emotions and they conflict with each other, and some maybe aren't even real. Maybe you feel at ease and it's peaceful, yet there's something uncomfortable and disturbing in the air. What gives this music a sense of mystery has to do with what scale Satie uses, which is based off of the Dorian mode. So if we have the Dorian mode, by raising the fourth, to me it adds a sense of mystery and a sense of something disturbing in the air. Now the last composer is Arvo Pärt, and the piece is Fratres. This represents conviction. I don't know how to describe this. It's restricted, yet free, yet there's a sense of purpose. I think the fragility of it is so felt, yet it's so powerful, and there's this unmovable force. It's cold, yet so giving, and during the space, the silence in the music, I think that's when a lot of the emotions sort of come up. And every time I listen to this music, it really brings me inward, and I think this is a great example of where words really fail. It just makes much more sense to close your eyes and listen to this music. Circling back to what I said earlier, everyone will have a different experience while listening to the same piece of music. And so I'd be curious to know in the comments how you would describe some of the music from this list. Please subscribe if you haven't already, also to Elbphilharmonie, so that you are up to date with the videos that will roll out this season. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon, and I'll see you in the next video.